Hey guys, Will Beach back here with another episode of After Hours Market Talk. Here we talk about chart analysis, learning the indicators, learning chart patterns. We're talking about the futures markets, forex markets, and we're trying to grow this community to share this knowledge and hope that everyone ends up on the right foot going into the markets. So please like and subscribe if this is your first time watching. If not, then go ahead and like anyways. And if you're already subscribed, thank you very much. Guys, what we're looking at today is going to be awesome. So first thing I want to show you guys, because like I said, I like to teach you guys. I use the Think or Swim platform. And with that, I'm going to show you something cool. If you have like a big watch list and you're just scanning and when you develop this chart patterns, we want to be able to scan through a bunch of stuff really fast so that we can find this one pattern that we are looking for. So in case you didn't know, if you go over here to the left hand side, there is these little colored tabs with numbers. Okay, and you see this one, it is green with a number 4. And if you go up here to the charts, there is another section right next to the ticker that you're looking at. And if you hit that little drop down, it gives you the options of all the colors with the numbers. So I'm on green 4 on the chart on my watch list. So if I go to green 4 on here, it will allow me to scroll through my indicator or my symbols really fast just by using arrow keys. I can then just tab through. This allows me to look really quickly at things and see certain chart patterns that I like and then do a more in-depth analysis. So I just want to share you guys with that. Just again, that's the little color code right here next. It'll be on a watch list when you create a watch list, and then you just associate it here, and then that is that. I have a lot of the Forex pairs, and I have the ES, NASDAQ, and Dow all set on this watch list. So let's go ahead and jump right in. So on the weekly charts on the S&P right now, we're looking at, we still have this downward push on the stochastic, very deep into the downside on the momentum indicator. We are very deep on the MACD indicator, and we are extended to the 30 on the ADXR. So this tells me that we are extremely close to possibly catching a correction. I'm not saying we're going to reverse. Well, let's talk about scale. If we're looking at just the weekly, right now we're in a correction to the long side, right? However, with momentum increasing to the downside, we're now looking for a correction back to the upside, right? So because we broke all these support levels, we are way down here, and this is a weekly chart. So I would not be surprised at this point to see one more stretch to the low side and with a wick, right? So we're going to pull back or go to new lows and then pull back to this normal range and then possibly look for a correction into the 20 moving average, which is this green line right here. So as this pushes down, right, as next week opens up, it's going to be like this. So we get this wick stretch, and then over the next week, and then next week, we might be, retesting this range over here. And then we have to see how that reaction looks. So why is it that I'm looking for a new low with a wick, right? Because we will now be opening up into low continuations, but we're very far extended into the low range right now. So with that being said, if we see lower lows, but with higher indicator, like on the stochastic, then that's going to be an indication of partial reversal happening or correction happening. And then we're fully extended on this momentum indicator and the MACD. So this tells us that we need some kind of pullback. So let's go ahead and just look through something in the daily range. So we had just received a crossover on the ADXR. This crossover is imperative to a continuation play, right? So now we're going to have possibly lower lows, with increased momentum. So this could go into a very drastic pull down. And again, I would then expect almost immediate correction after that. It's just going to be so far overextended. And technically, we are in this, even though like we have like these momentum crossovers, we're still within this very consolidation range of nothing is too far out of range. You have this W forming on the MACD, right? So we would be looking for this to pull back right here and a correction. We just came back from this long phase, which was this initial correction that was not last week, but the week before, into the fallout, which we expected, and to new lows. So now we're going to be looking for it to happen again, right? The difference would be at what point can we consolidate and then reverse. So with that being said, I'm not sure reversal is in the cards just yet, but somewhere in this range, I'd be looking for new lows into some type of corrective behavior. That's speculation at this point. You have to watch on these smaller scales to really confirm which way we're going to go. So when we go into the hourly chart, say, we are still consolidating down here, meaning we had this very high momentum range. Now we have started consolidation. We're still dropping into lows. We're still consolidating. So to drop into new lows, like I was saying before, would not be unheard of. So you'd be looking for some kind of break of this range here. This is 3648 on the ES. I can go to the NASDAQ, show you the same exact thing right here, because these are all basically doing the same exact patterns, right? So because we're basically looking at these same exact patterns, what's another indication that we're probably going lower? Your stochastic has been testing these high 80 ranges, but yet your price movement is staying stuck below these resistance levels of like the 50 moving average or prior bottoms over here. However you like to look at your charts, it's pretty much telling you the same thing, that if we're going to get stuck, if we're going to get fully extended on our green candles and get stuck in these same places, most likely you're going to roll over, continue low. It's going to reset and try again. So with that being said, we're going to be looking for another bit of a rollover to the downside. How long will it last? Well, that's why we do this every single day, so that we can monitor this movement. If you go to the NASDAQ, it's the same thing. We had a 30-minute chart right here looking pretty decent. But again, we have now been extended, and extended without breaking any real resistance, right? So to pull back, we would at least come back to a double bottom here. Most likely it's going to break, but that's what we're here to determine every single day. For my Forex people, Euro USD had broken out of the trend, but then fell right back into it, right? Which is expected. It's been following our markets, and I would expect a continuation of following our markets. So now we have this little rollover here, right? It popped back up, tested resistance. Everything is red, red, red. This is the daily chart, and we expect it to roll back over. Now, the one thing to keep in mind is as this has happened, our 20 is then crossed above the 50. When your moving averages are not in line, that's something to be cautious about, because it's going to want to retrace to that, right? So at some point, if this 20 is all of a sudden above the 50 and this goes into new lows, that's part of that corrective process where it's going to snap back and want to get back to that 20 where it has gone, right in that range. So we'll keep an eye out for that. But all in all, that's basically what's happening between the Euro USD and our markets. There is a correlation there. With the JPYs, they have been getting Well, JPY has been getting beat down, and all of the pairs against JPY have been skyrocketing. So we've been looking at that. This was CAD JPY, right? So it had this big run up from, you know, this range here of almost 800 pips of almost straight up move into a correction. So even though this is steep, this is a 500 pip correction. The reason why it's a correction is because it never gained momentum to the downside. All the indicators moved in the same direction. So this is a correction, and then you're looking for a continuation. So in this range, right, you get this big run up, you get a pullback, correction, and then you're looking for a continuation. When you look for a continuation, you're basically looking for somewhere around a double top for a continuation. But in order to see that, you need to see the support hold right in this range, and then it start popping up above this range, right, for true confirmation. I want to show you guys the Euro JPY, because this is one that we're keeping an eye on, because again, same pattern against JPY. This thing has run up so extremely hard against it, 700 or 800 pips, correction move into a continuation, which is what I was just showing you on the other one. This is what you're looking for, where it basically holds above the 20, and then all of your indicators are showing green, and then you're going to be looking for that next double top somewhere up here. This is a 4-hour chart. Look at the daily. This is a very clean indicator where the stochastic has pulled all the way back down to the 20, but everything remains green and green and green. This one little couple red is not a big deal when it's up here above 0. And now we basically have what I call the slingshot effect, where all of them are moving really hard in the same direction. So not only would I expect something like this to double top, I would expect it to run through it with momentum continuation. And if we go to the weekly, you can see that we have a nice pivot high. I talk about this in other videos, where you have this run up, pullback, run up that creates a new high. And now we're looking for a momentum run. So this could be a very strong one to watch coming into this week. GJ is in a very similar fashion. All of them against JPY right now are looking very strong. They're all very on these double top levels, but I believe they're carrying enough momentum to push through the double top. Other than that, if it showed weakness, then we'd look for it to roll back over on a double top. But I think there's momentum enough to push through. So I'm looking for the JPY to continue to be weak against the rest of these pairs moving in. Even USD JPY has actually been one of the strongest against it, pushing extremely hard, breaking new highs constantly, and almost, this pullback here was very minimal compared to some of the other ones. It had a 300 pip pullback, but it's had a 2100 pip run into a 300 pip pullback on this one for a continuation. So USD has been pushing extremely hard against JPY. Let's go into the dailies. So you see we're fully extended into new lows here. At this point, whenever we get below this 2.0, this says 2000 because it's in reference to whatever the price is at. But basically -2 and +2 are kind of those ranges on the MACD that kind of tell you whether you're overextended or not. And this has exceeded the -2 by 1,000. So again, that shows us that we've been in these momentum plays down, right? But it also tells me that we're going to look for a correction. This should be an interesting week. Obviously, the markets have been beat down. Inflation is still up. Like, everything's been super crazy, and we're trying to get our foot in the door, right? At this point, if you're shorting, you're cautious, as well as if you're long, you're cautious, right? Anybody who's playing for the long term game, a dollar cost averaging strategy at this point wouldn't be horrible because the markets have retraced so much that you would be basically starting fresh. Dollar cost averaging with already down 20% on the markets would be a great place to start entering. However, where's the bottom? If you wanted to play the bottom game, this is why they say it's extremely hard to find the bottom, because there's no way to tell which support is going to hold. This is 19.53% down from the tops. So a dollar cost averaging strategy here might not be that bad, right? Even if it continues down, right? That means that most your highs are going to be here, not here. So even if you had to dollar cost average, dollar cost average, dollar cost average, then you're going to end up green at some point within this move. And obviously much quicker than other people who might lump sum thinking this is the bottom, right? You lump sum into this and you go, all right, I'm just going to let it ride, right? And then the next day's red, the next day's red, and then they're pouting because they're all in on this, what they thought was the bottom. Start dollar cost averaging. If you're a day trader or a swing trader, right, then you should be looking at these smaller indicators here: 15-minute, 30-minute, 1 minute, 5 minute. And you're playing typically, like if this is all red, right, but I can only play a swing trade, down to here confidently. Why? Because this is where we saw this pop reversal and we're here, right? And then we have a bottom here that held. So you have to be extremely cautious without momentum to these bottoms if you're day trading and swing trading, right? If this was a 1 minute, this is a 15-minute. If I was on a 1 minute, then that would be my price target, right? Somewhere in this range here. And that'd be it. I'd get out. If I was going long, then I'd wait for positive stochastic, positive momentum, positive MACD. I'd have a nice curling up ADXR in favor of my position. And then I would day trade or swing trade in that direction. And I would confirm, right? We always talk about confirming with one up, right? This, although is positive, if I went long on like a 1 minute, this thing is still facing down, right? You understand? It's still facing down. So that's still a downward move. Whether this holds or not would be your guess as good as mine, because you can't trade on a 1 minute long if your higher time frames are short. You'll get quickly ripped out of position. If you played this where your MACD is facing up and you played a 1 minute chart that showed positive direction, right? If I go back to this move here, that'd be back here. If I went back into this range, right, and I said, oh yeah, we're going long, because at this point my 30-minute MACD is at least confirming that's the direction we want to go. Whether the big move is down or not, at least in the short term, I'm confirming that my 1 minute chart is at least going to do what I think it's going to do. If you're just playing 1 minute chart and you're not paying attention to other scales, you're going to get caught out of position. So leading into tomorrow, I believe we're still going to see some short runs. I think we're still going to see a lower low even, but I think we're getting close to catching a point that it wants to at least show some kind of correction into consolidation, right? You get the correction into consolidation, and then you go ahead and wait to see if the correction is going to hold and whether you get a reversal or a continuation. Basically, anytime you get a reset of the ADXR, which would be something like this is what I call a reset, is it's come all the way back down below 15. Then you have to wait to see where is that momentum going to go. So then the easiest way to do that is to remove some of the old stuff, draw your new lines. You can see I basically got a top and a bottom. So I based the bottom off of this one right here. Why not these? Why not these? Because that is no longer relevant in the play right now as we have this full reset, right? We're red, we're red, we're red. Our ADX is favoring the downside. However, it's still not in the range that tells us that there's a move there. So in this instance, we would wait for the crossover above the 15 to favor the downside. Then we'd be looking for that move, right? It would pull it down, it would correct, and then we would look for the continuation. I believe all of these are very similar. This on the Nasdaq has already crossed into above the 15 here. See this? However, the Nasdaq is actually got long indicators, but you see what's happened is this was showing short. Now we're showing long, but when you're showing long and you're still stuck in this pattern below all these moving averages, that's a sit and wait type of scenario, because you have mixed signals. You can't show long when everything is short, right? I can't show long signals if I'm blocked by the 50, if I'm still under the one. What I mean is you can't show signals. Is the signals will show long, right? But if the price isn't moving with those signals, that's something to be aware of. Meaning, if you only got this little itty bitty bit of movement from here to here, right? You only got this little itty bitty bit of movement for this big stochastic run up and this coming above and this going above, then we have to watch to see what it's going to do, because it's not long and it's not short, right? These are kind of like those no play zones where once you watch these charts for long enough, you realize this is the stuff where people get trapped, right? They go long right here, but it never breaks this, and then it falls short. Or they short it right here, but then it holds support right here, and then curls back up and goes long. This is the stuff that's risky, and it's not worth a play. It's worth sitting out and watching. This is a 1 minute chart, so it's going to happen very quickly. However, it's just things to be aware of. All right. I think that's pretty much it. Again, guys, like always, if you have a specific stock that you do want me to talk about, then let's talk about it. Comment in the leave a comment below, and we can bring it up. Again, I don't talk about individual stocks that much because the individual stocks follow the indices, right? So as long as we're talking about the direction of the indices, you're pretty much going to have the move you want to know about with the stocks. Every now and then you get some stocks that just do not want to play ball and they do something different. And with that, we can talk about those, right? Like, why are they reacting differently? What should we expect from them? And, are they in momentum? Are they just a pump and dump? Whatever the case is, I'm happy to break those down for you. So again, thank you guys. It is Sunday night. Let's get into this new week safely. I am anticipating some new lows. We are hoping to see some holding of these bottoms here shortly, so that we can see what a correction is going to happen, and if that correction is going to hold. It is still up in the air, right? We're getting pretty far extended. I'll show you one last thing. Once again, when I talked about the moving averages, I'll just use the NASDAQ for an example. So what's happened is when you have moving averages that are mix matched, which you can see now, you have the 50 up here, the 20, and then the 150, right? So this 20 has been pushing down, but now the 50 and the 150 is intercepted with this 20. What that means is as long as this 50 is above this 150, naturally this price is going to want to retrace somewhere. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to retrace back up to these levels. What it means is you could end up with a low that consolidates at some point, right? Consolidation allows moving averages to catch the price. So it could just end up going sideways to meet that price again, or you could get a correction that bounces up to retest it as resistance. So that's what we have to wait for, is we have to see whether this thing wants to bounce back and correct, or if it wants to consolidate and meet those moving averages. Both can be a good thing and both can be a bad thing, right? If it runs up to retest and catches a resistance it doesn't like, it's going to shoot back down. If it consolidates long enough, then you get this ADX reset, and then it gets to choose, right? Which way is it going to break? Is it going to break down or is it going to break up? And that's what we do, right? We watch this on a daily basis. We know what the weekly's saying. The weekly saying is that we still are down, right? We're still facing down. So that means everything we're looking at as of right now is down. So anything that looks clean as a run up, I'd be cautious for and be waiting to see it pull back and then hold a support, then continue before I trust anything in the long positions. All right, guys, take care. Have a good night, and like and subscribe for me. Hit that like button. That's the biggest one. That really helps me get in front of the right people and continue these videos for you guys. I love making them. It's something I'm passionate about. I've done this for a long time now, and I'm really getting into the videos to just get this information out. So any questions, any way I can help, please let me know, and we'll keep building this community.